Hello and welcome, everybody. I'm Jono Funk, the Eternal Optimist, and welcome to another one of our prologue sessions. Today is going to be with Damagine, and it is the prologue for the Centaur Pegasus variety member of our team. Gina, please introduce yourself.
My name is Gina. I am also VTuber, and I will be playing as a Pegasus called Spira, who has two childhood best friends. One is called Viden, one is called Britta, and they just have a whole lot of fun together in their herd. So I definitely think that nothing is gonna go wrong today.
Yeah, nothing terrible will happen, like in our warm-up session just now.
Yeah, like the warm-up session.
It's like you either roll critical successes or critical fails. There was no in between with that.
Yeah, absolutely nothing in between. And that is just my luck in a nutshell. So this is gonna be interesting.
Without spoiling the viewers, Gina's showing off almost got her friends killed.
It wasn't my fault that they couldn't handle a barrel roll in the sky. I wasn't rolling towards them.
But you were so protective of the bread.
Yeah.
All right. Also, everybody, please check out Gina's channel. She's an amazing, comfy VTuber streamer. One of my absolute favorites to watch. So yes, please check them out. I'll have links to everybody's art and VTubing channels and everything in the description below. As you guys know, I like to promote my friends. So yeah, let us begin. You are shaken awake by a person who you can't quite recognize in the dark. You know that it's far too early for the sunrise, as given the lack of light. So somebody is shaking you awake in your tent in either the early hours of the morning or it's still late evening. You're not quite sure. You're a bit groggy. What do you do?
It's not even morning. And I'm just gonna roll over to like my stomach and just peek up.
A gruff voice shakes your shoulder once again, and you hear the voice of a man named Quintus, who has been in the Goldenstrider herd. For the viewers at home, the centaurs are a nomadic species, and Spira's herd is famous for traveling through the Thundervale Mountains, which is why they are called the Goldenstrider. And so Quintus is one of the older members of this very large family. Quintus, he's like, Spira, wake up. Spira, come on, I have to get up.
Pull myself up to a sitting position and just, what is it?
Your character rubs their eyes. You can see that he has a concerned look on his face. As you know, the Pegasus are very communal based, and everybody carries the load. Like, as your nomadic group with all of these families inside, everybody treats each other as family. So when you see that look on his face, you know that something's happened.
I'm just gonna peek at him. I'm gonna lay my head to the side slightly and look very concerned and just ask, should I come? Do you need to speak? What's going on?
It's Viden. I know that you and him are really, really close, as is Britta. The three of you are usually inseparable, but something's wrong. And we're not entirely sure, and we need you to come. He already starts to stand up to like give you your own privacy as he like leaves your tent.
I'm just gonna pull like a coat or something, not just in my like sleeping clothes, and I'm just gonna not really sprint and not walk, but something in between towards where I know that Viden is sleeping.
So as you leave your tent and you start making your way past the communal bonfires that have been set, in order to keep yourself safe when you're not in the air, usually you land on mountains, but still, mountains are cold. There are several fires that have been lit to keep everybody warm. And you can see that Quintus is not alone in that there are several people gathered near Viden's tent where you know where it was. You know where he set up because you, Britta, and Viden are very, very close friends. So you can see that people are standing there, but not too close either.
As I see that, my heart is just gonna pound quicker, and what started out as a brisk walk turns into a jog and then a sprint. I'm just gonna run straight into his tent.
As you're running across the campment to reach where this crowd of people are, your memories fly back to that day several years ago where you, Britta, and Viden fell out of the sky and tumbled into the forest with that unnatural mist, where you faced that horrific thing, that coughing, wheezing, moaning, jawless thing that still gives you nightmares even to this day. Ever since that day, Viden's injuries healed. His strength never fully returned. When he used all of his might to try and push that thing away from you with the wind magic that the Pegasus have. He never was able to ever exhibit such strength ever again. Even after all these years, he developed a small cough, but it was nothing ever serious. You know, he always played it off. He just would joke that, you know, he always had a cold and such like that. It would never felt serious, but at the same time, a part of you never forgot unnatural gray mist that it tried to hiss at you, grazed his legs before you and Britta could pull him out of the forest with his injuries. So as you're running towards the tent, your mind, a million different thoughts are racing through your minds, and one of them is that he may have just passed away. So you burst into the tent, and to your utter relief, you find that Viden is still there and alive. However, you can see that there is blood on his bedsheet from his coughing. You can see that he's been coughing violently, and that must have been what drew the attention of the others, and Quintus in particular, who was on guard duty.
I'm first gonna just draw a big sigh of relief, and then I'm just gonna look at him very worriedly, and I'm gonna go towards him and just sit on my knees and just say like, "Hi, that is not a cold, Vidar."
Spira.
And I'm gonna rub his back.
No, Spira. If you get this, I would never forgive myself. I know I joked about it, but this is something more. It's never been this bad. No, you mustn't. Please. As he tries to push you away from rubbing his back, you can see that the last thing he wants is for you to be sick. Viden's usually long, messy, brown, wavy hair. He usually ties it up loosely. He doesn't really care that much about his appearance, but he ties his hair into like a long ponytail so that it doesn't get in his way. However, in his current state, his hair is all over the place. It's an absolute mess. You can see that he must have been rolling in his bed for hours, trying not to disturb everyone else with his coughing fit. Despite, when you look into his eyes, you can see his hazel eyes are bloodshot from all of the coughing and the silent suffering that he's been going through for genuinely who knows how many weeks this has been. What do you do? Do you continue to go be near him, or do you back off like he wishes? What do you do?
Like I straighten up a bit, so I'm slightly further from him, but I'm still gonna just lean over and just tuck a bit of his hair over his ear instead, and just gonna like, "Hey, I've been around you for a lot the last couple of days. Whatever you have, if it is contagious, I would have it. You're fine."
But what if at this moment you hear the tent part, as someone else seems to have been brave enough to enter into the tent, and you see a girl with short curly blonde hair and bright green eyes as Britta, your other best friend, bursts into the tent. And when she sees the blood, she gasps and puts her hand across her mouth, not out of fear of whatever sickness this could be, but rather out of horror at like what's happening to her, one of her closest friends. Viden, Spira, what's happening?
I don't really know what's happening, but Britta, can you get him some tea or something like that?
She looks at Viden, her eyes are scared, but when she sees how calm you are, actually give me a composure roll.
I'm not sure how calm I am. I don't know.
Sure.
Composure. Okay, so that is just a neutral. I'm very calm.
Perfect, yes. You seem to almost take charge of the situation with the composure that you have. You continue to rub his back to show that you're not afraid of whatever this is that is afflicted him, which you sense actually brings much needed relief to. At the same time, the way that you spoke to Britta is also reassuring because it gives her a sense of purpose. As you know from your experiences with her throughout your childhood together, you know that when Britta feels helpless is when she gets panicky. So by asking her to make a cup of tea, it gives her an objective to focus on so that she remains calm as well. So Britta nods very quickly and like leaves the tent, and you can hear the muttering of other people outside the tent, but Britta very quickly silences them by just telling them to give to give space over here and that everything will be okay, as she runs off to find a tea set to make some tea in the middle of the night. Okay.
There's always time for tea.
Viden coughs. He's struggling to speak clearly. but he wants to thank you. He said, thanks, Spira.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm going to actually jump ahead a little bit now. So what ends up happening is you and Britta spend the night with Viden, and when the sun finally rises and your eyes are like heavy from the lack of sleep, but Viden stopped talking as much as the two of you reassured him and gave him something to drink to help with his sore throat. And in the morning, someone else enters the tent as well. It is Horatia and Marcus, the two leaders of the Goldenstrider herd. Hello there, Marcus says as he nods to the group. Horatia, though, she's quite a tall lady. She's been leading the Goldenstrider herd for a few decades now. And Marcus is the former leader who is entering into his retirement phase. So he's been essentially an advisor to Horatia for a while now. But yeah, the former leader and the leader are here. And they are wise enough to be respectful of the relationship that the three of you have as close friends. So they don't order you to leave. But Horatia looks at you and she goes, Spira, well done on handling the situation while I wasn't here.
Thank you, leader. And I'm just gonna look towards her, and then I'm just gonna take my eyes down for a bit.
Marcus, though, he asks Viden straight up. He just says, without cutting any slack, and he just says, is this contagious? And Viden says, I don't know. You know the thing that we told you about? And you see Horatia and Marcus both nod, as they also had a gut feeling that it was that thing, that horrific creature that you three encountered. And no one ever saw it again. The rest of the herd, when they found you guys desperately bringing a near unconscious Viden back to the herd, people went out to scout it, to at least kind of see what it was, to confirm like what the heck that thing was. But nobody ever saw it. You three were the only ones who ever saw it. And while some of the younger members of the Goldenstrider herd think that the three of you made that up in order to like get attention, and Horatia always believed you from the beginning. They could see how shaken you were and how injured Viden was, that yes, they believe you. Yeah, Marcus Lee says, is this contagious? Viden says he doesn't know. Do you want to interject or do you want to keep quiet? Which would you prefer? You can defend him here because you did that just now.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that like I've been around Viden like very closely since ever. I think that if it was contagious, I would be coughing by now at least, since he's been having this cough for like it could be the thing. And I'm like a bit high pitched on the thing, and a shiver runs down my spine because it still freaks me out, even though it was years ago.
Horatia sighs deeply as she thinks about what to do in this situation. Marcus also examines the bloodstains from his coughing to see just how much blood has been coughing. And let me give an investigation roll for him. Hold on. Oof. Okay, he almost got a... Okay. He sighs in relief and he says, it seems that the bleeding is actually just damage from him coughing too much. Thankfully, it seems that this coughing fit was just stronger than he expected, and he coughed too hard that it ripped some of the vessels in his throat. So if this is a disease, it isn't causing him to bleed internally, at least not yet, but I have no idea what this could be. I'm not a medical specialist here. I've just got years on years of experience running the herd.
But is there something we can do?
Horatia stands and she looks at you and she says, there is, but I don't want to do it. She sighs a little bit, and you can see even Marcus is a bit confused by her cryptic words. In fact, he actually speaks up and he's like, what have you got planned, Horatia? And she says, well, if you don't know what it is, then I won't know what it is. And that means no one else here will know what it is. So the only thing we can do is make a summon. We either make a call to our ancestors or we go to the Evermist Grove. Now, you would know this, but for the viewers, a centaur, every centaur, there are subspecies. There's unicorns, there's kelpie, and there's pegasus, of which Spira here is of the pegasus variety. Now, the pegasus, they unique magic, they can control winds. But all centaurs, including the pegasus variety, all centaurs have an ability called Call of the Ancestors, where they can make a desperate plea to the lost spirits, the fragments of the souls of their previous loved ones, try to summon the strength of those who have passed in order to aid them in their situations. Depending on how powerful the individual is and how desperate their plea is, determines the result of a call to the ancestor. You can see now why Horatia was a bit hesitant to use this ability to help just one person with a really bad cough. You know, it's not like you call to the underworld for a bad cough.
Yeah, normally you don't.
Yes. So she's hesitant to engage with such high level magic. So she would rather the entire herd travel to the Evermist Grove, which is inside the Thundervale Mountains. And I will show this to you, viewers, over here. Fortunately, you are not too far from that, as your migration pattern was actually currently just exiting one of the more dangerous parts of the Thundervale Mountains. So thank goodness for Viden, but yes, he should be able to make the journey to the Evermist Grove, where the other heads of the Pegasus herds can be summoned. They can travel here to discuss what's happening. Horatia puts her hand on your shoulder and she says, normally only the leaders of each herd can go to the Evermist Grove for a call. However, since the three of you here are the only ones who actually saw this creature, we need your description. So you're coming with us. Marcus, you need to stay behind and watch the herd in my absence. He chuckles as he's just like getting on an old bike again. You know, he gets right back into his leadership role, even after being semi-retired for 10 years at this point. He immediately leaves the tents and you hear him clap his hands together and he starts shouting at various people, giving them instructions to start packing up this and you're going to be doing this task. So yeah, he for an old man, you can tell he really loved being the leader of the herd. So Horatia's hand is still on your shoulder and you can see that despite her calm demeanor, she's also a little bit trembling, and you can see that she's also deeply concerned about Viden's health. You're not alone in this.
I think I'm still just gonna be a bit of a sigh of relief, because I have been trying to stay calm for the last hours and I'm extremely tired. Even though Horatia is still really worried, I still feel like, whoa, someone else is sharing my burden.
Horatia looks at you and Britta, and Glee says that the two of you should go rest. She'll send out messengers to the other herds, and the leaders will be gathering at the Evermist Grove later this evening. So if you want to sleep through the entire day or half the day, that's entirely up to you. And we will then travel with the sunset.
I'm gonna rest for not really half a day, but a few hours at least.
You leave the tent and you can see that Viden as well is also absolutely exhausted. Horatia, though, she stays by his side as she takes over the responsibility. He has a cloth, so she's cleaning up his sweat and the blood, checking the tea as well. So you leave the tent in maximum confidence because the herd leader herself is right there at his side. Essentially, the herd leader is usually the most qualified because you cannot become a herd leader without having done every single task expected of a person. Horatia is probably the most qualified person here to be at Viden's side right now. Britta looks at you and she just says, is he gonna be okay?
I really hope so, but I'm not really sure anymore.
That thing, I still get nightmares about it. The scream that it made, the groaning. If it wasn't for you, the three of us would have been dead.
Well, if it wasn't for you, at least Vidar would be. Viden?
No, it was all my fault. It was all my fault. I'm the one that fell through the Arachidar nest. I joked that I wasn't going to see the end of that day. I never thought that I may have lost my friends because of that.
Well, I failed with the whole wind thing. I tried to break your fall, but I couldn't do it. If I had done that, you guys wouldn't have been hurt as bad, and we could have just get out of there.
Britta, you saved my life. If I'd seen, if that was the first thing I saw when I opened my eyes, I would have screamed. But instead it was you. You were there. You kept me quiet. You freed my wings. You got us out. And she starts to break down and she just cries. You can tell that the guilt that she's been carrying these years, because she's also been watching Viden's slow degrading. His strength never returned, and it's not something you guys really talked about because that thing, whatever it was, it left quite a scar on all of you mentally. It was one of the scariest moments of your life. So
I'm just gonna hug her and I'm gonna cry too.
yeah, the two of you start crying. She's just like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help.
Okay, now before I actually get emotional here, because I'm getting into character, like I'm actually like wiping my eyes right now. Just okay. So the two of you quickly go back to your tent, and you can choose. Do you want to go separate, or do you just want to like both fall asleep next to each other?
I think both of us just need some comfort in all of this, and I kind of feel like both of us are gonna dream of this thing.
You don't actually see it in your nightmares. You just, at the back of your mind, that memory of that horrible shuffling noise and the moaning permeates your dream, but the fact that you can hear Britta at your side calms you down, and it fades into nothingness. And you don't dream of anything. Like, you just enter into a deep, deep sleep that can only be achieved through a lot of exhaustion. So when you wake up, you see that the sun is already setting. It seems that the rest of the herd decided to let the two of you get as much rest as possible. When you do exit the tent, you see that the entire campground has been packed up and ready to go. In fact, most of the Goldenstriders have left. There are only a few left who remain. Essentially, you're traveling in waves, as like the first people to leave are the least burdened, because they will be responsible for choosing the landing spot and then setting it up, so that when the rest of the waves arrive, there's already a campfire going and food is being made and everything. So it's not that everybody arrives all at once. It's you travel in like waves. Yeah, most of the herd has departed, and you guys were being left as part of the last wave because, well, you are going to the Evermist Grove later, so you're actually going on a detour. You and Britta leave the tent. Horatia is waiting for you. She's sitting on a large rock. Her dark black wings have a metallic sheen in the light, and she has 4 bags ready by her side for you, Viden, and Britta. Is there anything you'd like to say to her?
Thank you so much.
No worries, but you're going to have to carry him. As she looks at the two of you, I will be responsible for your safety. If anything were to happen, you're under my protection. She passes you your bow anyway, because your tent was packed up and taken with since you stayed in Britta's tent. You do have like your most important possessions in your backpack, and she passes you your bow, and you can see that she also carries a much stronger bow. If you were to try and pull that bow, I don't think you would have the arm strength to pull it back. Horatia is not someone to mess with. The muscle density of her arms, if you were to jab your finger into her arms, your finger would bend first before her skin indented. That's how long she's been shooting. Horatia is actually the prized hunter of the group. That was what led to Marcus's decision to choose her as the next leader, was that she was so successful at hunting. He saw her as leadership potential because initially it was her love of hunting that led her down the path of eventually becoming the herd leader. So you're in good protection this time.
This time.
Well, I mean, Viden was the one that was supposed to be protecting the two of you when you were traveling in that wave all those years ago. And in the end, you had to save the two of them from that nightmare fuel.
Yeah, noted. Don't go through clouds.
Not every cloud is an arachnid nest. You just got really unlucky.
I think I'm gonna check them very closely.
For the viewers at home, thankfully the arachnid nest was empty, but Spira did critically fail and fell back into the nest and hatched one of the horrific 4-legged, 4-armed humanoid spider babies. With furry arms and legs, and it was like... That happened.
Yeah, and that was the least nightmarish fuel of the warm up.
Viden slings both his arms over you and Britta. You're each taking like half his weight, but all of you use your wings on your backs. Can you describe your wings for the viewers, please?
My wings are closest to my shoulder blades. They are white, and then they are slowly, gradually shifting onto the same silvery gray that my hair is.
Viden's wings are the same dark oaky brown as his messy hair. You notice that it's tied up in a ponytail again, like his usual style. So you can see that he tried to make himself a bit more presentable for meeting the leaders at the Evermist Grove. He looked more like put together than his usual scuffy self. As for Britta, her wings are a pale blonde with a little bit of like dark strands in it as well. The three of you lift off and Horatia takes the lead into the sunset. Give me a general acrobatics roll just to see how smooth this flight is. So because you're trained in acrobatics, you will not get any penalties and you'll get +2 for your dexterity. Hold on. Oh my gosh.
We're not very dexterous.
So as you're flying, Horatia notices that the group is slowly losing altitude. She tries several times to not shout at you guys, but she issues an order to go higher. The three of you are trying, but you're exhausted. Your mental state is also not the greatest after the fears and concerns of the previous evening. Give me a dodge roll. Okay, you managed to dodge it. A large dragonfly with lightning-coated wings, because this is the Thundervale Mountains after all. A very large dragonfly zipped out from below the tree line, and it's big enough to snatch a child. Very unsettlingly large. It tried to grab at your hair, but you managed to duck at the last second. Before you could even lift your eyes up to see where it went, you hear the dragonfly starts to fall past you back into the treetops with an arrow sticking out of it from Horatia. She killed that. She looks at it and she clucks. She just goes, if we weren't in such a rush, that would have made a fantastic dinner. Lightning dragonflies are my favorite. The four of you continue on through the night, and it takes a little bit longer. The sun sets, the moon has risen, almost a full moon. By the time you finally reach the Evermist Grove, there's already a large gathering. There are a few fires, but unlike the normal camping fires for warmth, these seem to be decorative, more ceremonial in the size and placement of them. There's a pattern to it where it's almost like an artistic expression. Because the Pegasus are nomadic, you guys don't really have many structures. So the Evermist Grove is one of the few places that unifies your people across multiple herds, where everyone knows that this is an important place for leaders to come together and discuss. The four of you land. Everyone you see before you is a leaders that are there, have been waiting for Horatia's arrival. So one of the leaders from the Foam Crest herd, they tend to travel along the coastlines. They like the ease of seafood, right? It's easy to go fishing and to grab shellfish and such. So their herd prefers to travel up and down the coastlines. That's their preferred lifestyle. So Alric steps forward and tries to chew Horatia out. It's already halfway through the freaking night. Where have you been? Horatia ignores him gracefully as she walks straight past him and exchanges pleasant greetings with all the other leaders, who seem to be much more welcoming of her and don't seem to mind so much. This irritates Alric something fierce as he walks up to Horatia and, oh, yes, hello, welcome. Okay, so why did you call us? Alric, I know you. I know why you're so impatient. But look, the reason we're late is the same reason we have the summons. As she gestures towards the three of you. His eyes squint a little bit. Yeah, that one in the middle does look a little wee bit pale. Poor Viden he's doing his best to not cough.
At first, I'm just gonna keep my eyes down to be respectful, but at that, I'm gonna shoot him a glare and then quickly just avert my eyes again.
Give me a composure roll. So
I am 12 good at composing my anger.
And this will go up against his perception. He doesn't even know you're there. Yeah, Alric is a very impatient man, as you can tell, and he doesn't like getting a summons in the middle of the day to arrive there in the night and then spend half the night waiting. So understandably, he's not happy, but also it's unfair because he is ignorant. Well then, Horatia, tell us what the heck is going on here. One of the other leaders steps forward. She seems to be a bit younger than Holga and Alric, and her name is Signos. She hesitantly speaks up. Yes, I was a little bit curious as well. But why? What? This is my first time I've had a call with the leader. So, I'm also like really curious. Holga, again, you can tell that she doesn't want to dive straight into this topic, but now that 2 out of the 7 leaders present are putting pressure. She's not entirely sure whether she should dive right into it. Let's first take a seat then. And the leaders gather in the grove, which, as you can tell, all of the leaders seem to take a position in a way that everybody is equally distant from one another, but also is facing each other at the same time. So it would be like trying to form a star. So no one is above or below, and no one is hidden from view. The three of you are placed sitting back to back to each other, the three of you back to back, right in the center circle. Because you are the subject of today's discussion. Give me another composure roll. You've got 7 leaders examining you without saying a word.
That's not nerve-wracking at all.
They can see right through you. You can read every emotion that's going on your face, which at the same time also starts to make them unsettled as well. Again, usually a call between leaders is for something that, might threaten an entire herd, or usually you respect each other's boundaries and the nomadic routes that you take. It's very rare that herds clash or cross each other's paths, because again, you travel huge distances. The likelihoods of 2 herds traveling intersectingly is very, 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 very rare. A summons of leaders at the Evermist Grove is unusual. So they start to get worried by reading the expressions on your face. Alric can't take this anymore, and he just says, "So what the hell are we doing here?" Horatia sighs. "We're not entirely sure, but we're here to gather wisdom from all of the leaders who have been trained by all of the elders, and some of you have even spoken with the ancients. So I'm hoping that our collective wisdom that's gathered here today can bring insight into an affliction that has appeared within our herd." And she's speaking very formally and very respectfully of everyone present to showcase the reasoning behind the call here. And she does it in such a way that should impress you, because it's not easy dealing with this kind of situation, and yet she was able to compliment everyone while also showcasing that everyone is necessary. Tove, one of the other leaders, acknowledges. He grunts. He's just like, "Go on. So what is this infliction that has struck your herd? What has the Goldenstriders done to us now?" Horatia prickles a little bit as she says, "The Goldenstriders have done nothing. We have merely done what we all do, and that is enjoy our lives traveling through the world. Unfortunately, as you know, this world is filled with many things that are unwelcoming to us, that are unwelcoming to everything. And we encountered such a thing. More specifically, the 3 that you see seated before you. The way that they described it is that," and this is when Alric loses his patience again, and he snaps, "So you haven't even seen the thing that we're talking about? So you're telling me that right now you summoned 7 leaders, the words of 3 children." You are not children, by the way, but he views you as such. Give me another composure roll. Britta starts crying. And you feel angry tears forming in your eyes too. Because this is not your fault.
And I'm not a child.
Viden looks straight at Alric. "If you had seen it, you would understand why Horatia has called everyone here." Alric pauses for a moment, and for the first time actually shows self-restraint as he looks at the blood on the hand of Viden. In fact, he sort of reels back a little bit. Horatia notices that Viden is taking the initiative, and she essentially leads them on. "Yes, Viden, Spira, I need the 3 of you to describe what you saw with as much detail as you can remember, because we need to know what this thing was." Okay, would you like to go first, or would you like Viden to begin?
I think I would like to go first. Look at the others for just back me up if I forget anything.
Viden explains, "Spira was the one who was the least injured that day, and she has the clearest memory of what happened. Please, Spira."
I was also the one that saw the thing first.
Okay, give me a charisma roll and then tell the story.
Okay.
This is your test.
Please.
Don't worry, they'll back you up from the past that they can remember. Crit success. Okay, they are leaned forward. They are locked in. Even one of them's got a bowl of popcorn. No, I'm joking. Okay, but if there was popcorn, crit success.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't have to worry. You're not going to get any interruptions. This is like the perfect chance. You've got the stage.
We were in a very dark forest, and in one of the bushes, I kind of saw a creature. It was very dark. It had arms with no muscle. It was just sticks with skin on them, and it was just making these terrible noises and puffs of gray smoke would just come out of the thing. And when it was chasing towards me and Viden, I could kind of see that it had no chin. It was just a hole.
Oh god, that terrible mouth. You hear Britta, like, she tries to support you, but you can see, like, she's holding her head, just remembering it. The missing jaw, the gaping hole, the screams when you shot it with the arrow.
Yeah, and when I tossed the bread at it, he just pushed it right through his little hole.
You tossed the bread at it? Alric looks at it, like, confused.
He was chasing us. I had to do something.
Viden coughs and he goes, yeah, but this thing, it shoved the entire loaf through its gullet. It didn't chew. It didn't even swallow. It just, with its long, bony, skinny arms, it just pushed the entire loaf of bread down into its belly. Ugh, he gets shivers just thinking about it.
I think all three of us kind of do. And I kind of feel almost like it's still chasing, like, so I kind of get this chase almost expression on my face, and I just, as soon as we three got together again, we kind of just tried as best as we could to get away from there, and Viden was pushing it away with his wing. But then at the last second, the thing kind of just let out this huge gust of smoke at us, and it touched Viden.
It reached my feet. Whatever it was, that horrible bubbling smoke. The way you described it, Spira, with how it bubbled off of its body, but the way that when it coughed at us, it was different. It was directed, but you can see he's struggling to remember the details because he'd hit his head pretty badly on a branch on the way down. Yeah, well done. You got all the critical details. I was keeping track there to see if you would lose track of any important details, but no. You successfully passed the test, and with that charisma, everyone was paying attention. Well done! Signos, the timid leader, the one who's nervous, she has been biting her nails thinking about this, and she trembles a little bit from hearing the story and the description. Alric has gone extremely quiet. Tove, his jaw is clenched. The remaining leaders are also deep in thought. As this goes on, Horatia again speaks up and says, I would like to mention that this happened many years ago. In which case, like, all the tension in the room dissipates. Yeah, Alric, this wasn't today? Yes, this happened many years ago, and we were so relieved when we managed to find these three barely flying and keeping it together. We tried to find it to confirm what it was, but no one was able to find it. We searched that whole forest, and wherever that thing was, it was gone. I could tell that these three were not lying. They were too shaken. They were too scared. No, that thing was real. Viden, well, he changed. The three of them changed that day, but Viden changed the most. His cough that you hear now, it began slow, and it was only last night where it became a coughing fit so bad that he started coughing blood. Marcus, my former leader, my mentor, he says that the injuries he received from the coughing fit was from overstraining, and it might not be related to whatever this disease or whatever it is that has inflicted him, but it's taken a few years, and it doesn't seem to be contagious, as Spira here has so valiantly defended her friends, saying that she spent almost every day with Viden and she's never developed a cough like. You hear a sigh of relief from the other leaders who had been leaning back a bit as this has been retold. Alric is not convinced. So what is the problem then? Either he gets better or he gets in a grave. Why has it got to do with that? Tove interrupts him now. Okay, you've been speaking a little bit too much, Alric. This is an important detail. Whether the boy here lives or dies is irrelevant. The most important thing here is what the hell was that creature? If they couldn't find it, that means it's still out there. And if it's still out there, it's a threat to all of us. And if we at least now know what it looks like, we can warn the other herds. And you see a lot of the others sort of nod their heads in agreement, going, yes. This is actually, you know, this meeting. You see a couple of them mumbling. One of them even says, yes, no, this was an important reason for the summon, for the call. Alric is still a bit irritated though. Thing is gone, right? It's not a problem anymore. Unexpectedly, Signos, the nervous one, she looks at you again and she says, Spira, right? That was your name. Spira.
Yes.
Could you please tell me again why you threw a piece of bread at the monster?
Because it looked hungry, I think. It was just chasing us, and I felt as though it was looking for something, and I hoped that it was food. And as soon as I threw the bread, he went after the bread and ate it.
So when you I'm assuming you threw this bread in panic, but when you threw the bread and it bounced off of him, he no longer went for you?
No, it definitely went for the bread first.
Oh no. No, 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 no. She's now deep in thought, and this brings the attention of everyone else. Oh, please, no, no, not that, not anything but that. And she realizes all of a sudden that all eyes are on her. It's like, this makes her jump. She yips a little bit. She's like, no, wait, no, okay, I'm not saying this is what it is, but it could be, based on everything that you've told us today, the three of you. The descriptions, the sounds, the smoke, and the bread. I'm not joking about the bread. The bread is actually kind of important. But it may have been a Plaguewraith. A Plaguewraith? Tove questioningly asked. Even Horatio is a bit confused, like, what the heck is a Plaguewraith? Alric laughs a little bit. Those are just legends by the Trope. One of the other leaders nudges Alric. Go on, explain. Are you serious? You want me to actually Signos, are you really, you believe those superstitions of those little furry creatures? No, it's more than just superstition, I'm afraid. It's happened before. I've heard stories from not just Trope, but from other members in my herd. We've seen creatures like this before. Alric, okay, fine. I'll explain it to the group. So the Trope, the species with the cat girl ears and the dog boy ears, yeah, those species, the ones that turn into their primal forms when the full moon is out and they lose all their sense of who they are. Yeah, those wonderful little werewolves and werecats. While they usually like farming and planting seeds, every now and then their agriculture doesn't work out for them. And what happens? A lot of them starve. A lot of them get plagues. In order to justify all of the death and such that comes from them trying to control nature, well, they say that a creature is born from all of that death and famine. All that suffering, all that pain, all of that forms and coalesces together to create a Plaguewraith. That's what they believe. That's their superstition. Signos rubs her hands together and she says, it's more than superstition, Alric. Listen to me. A Plaguewraith, it's fear, it's hunger. Can you imagine thousands of starving Trope wanting a meal and all of those fears coalescing to create a being of hunger and death? That's what a Plaguewraith is. A creature, it's more of a curse. And if it breathed that horrible breath on this young man here, is it really such a surprise that the cough it had has been transferred to him? And with this, everybody just keeps a little bit quiet as they look at Viden with both pity and concern. And Alric, though, doesn't really seem to have any of this. So what? You fed it a loaf of bread and it disappeared. Is that what you're saying? Signos is like, I'm not saying that's what happened to it, but it may have. Nobody really knows what to... Again, like you said, it's not like many people survive an encounter with such a thing. And Alric scoffs. Give me an intelligence roll.
That I can do. Getting kind of moved.
Your intelligence has gathered that listening on the description from Alric and Signos, you've put together the puzzle pieces. The fact that when you fell down and when you tried to lift up Viden and separated and the creature, the Plaguewraith, started going after you, it was because you were carrying all those loaves of bread. Plaguewraith was born of the suffering of the Trope that you gave back what was lost from them, may have satiated it, not necessarily dissipated it, but it may have been enough to satisfy its hunger and that it went back into rest, or that the spirits that made it up went to sleep. The Plaguewraith itself, the fact that you fed it may have been enough to calm it down for maybe a few years. This is a gut feeling you're going with here. You know, it may have been that for the past few years, just that one loaf of bread was enough to satisfy the suffering spirits within it. You create this very rational hypothesis in your mind, and it is entirely up to you whether you want to share this with the leaders or not.
I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna be like not really wanting to interrupt, but also kind of like I think that the loaf of bread kind of helped it somewhat, but I don't think that it has disappeared because it was still around us after having eaten it. Like it may have gone to sleep or something like that after we escaped, but it can come back.
Give me a manipulation roll to convince the others of your thesis.
I am not good at that.
Good enough. Everyone nods in agreement that this would explain a lot of why you weren't able, why it vanished from the forest so quickly, as well as why there hasn't been any sightings of such a creature since. At the same time, though, Alric, being Alric, scoffs at it, just being like, oh, this is all nonsense. So the lad has a cough. If it was a Plaguewraith, and it is sleeping, we just throw it a piece of bread every once in a while. The group is kind of stunned by that. They're just like, you make a good point. Tove is a bit hesitant. That's assuming we know where it sleeps. Most importantly, now that we know that the Plaguewraith is something we can deal with, what are we going to do with the young man before us? Alric starts to lose interest in the conversation now, but the rest of the leaders are still paying attention because you did a really good roll. Alric, the boy is either diseased or cursed, so I want nothing to do with him. He's not coming anywhere near me. As for you, like, what goes on in your herd is your business, Goldenstrider. He looks at Horatia, who is very not pleased with him. Like, you can feel her hand grasping as her patience with Alric is starting to reach its limit. But she is maintaining her composure roll. Barely, but she's maintaining them. Viden is also, he's a bit dejected, but also a bit relieved to finally understand what that thing was. And Britta as well. She was crying at the beginning of this whole mating thing, but she's been listening very intently. And hearing all of this is also giving her sort of like a sense of closure as well. This has been very beneficial.
Therapy.
Horatia is like, well, I can't just abandon one of my own. A couple of the other leaders like nod. Surprisingly, Alric and Tove both go, you risk your entire herd for one sick boy. Is this really wise? Horatia is, no one in my herd is worth more than anyone else. As this time she stands up and stamps her feet. You know when a horse is standing its ground? That's really the kind of thud that she does. Her patience is now snapped.
Head up, stand as tall as she possibly can.
Yeah, that's exactly what she does. Tove sits up as well. He doesn't stand, but he sits up as well as he realizes it's starting to become a game of puffery soon with the way tensions are going. Alric just leans back. He really just doesn't want to be here anymore. He just wants this meeting to wrap up. Signos puts her hands together again in that nervous way, and she's like, I have a bit of a suggestion for you, Horatia. I have to say, I agree with Alric and Tove on this. You know, it's not wise to risk a potential Plaguewraith's curse spreading amongst your people. And while I know it's not my place to talk about what you do with your people, may I suggest maybe that he isolates himself for a bit to see whether this cough of his will get a bit better. I mean, it's just wise. Horatia sighs. You could tell that she really, really doesn't want to accept the truth in these words. And she was really hoping that Signos would be on her side here, because with having 3 of the 7 leaders now pushing towards either exiling or isolating Viden, the other leaders start to nod their heads in agreement as well, saying that, yes, no, this makes sense. But Horatia doesn't want to give in. She steps forward into the circle, puts her arms around the 3 of you. I am not going to send 3 of my children to live alone in the woods with a bloody Plaguewraith out there. And she gives you a hug, and you can feel a slight trembling on it. She really sees you as her children, even though she's not your mother. She sees you as her children.
I'm just gonna put an arm around Viden.
He sort of stands up and he coughs a bit. Leaders, I have to say, I'm greatly appreciative of your time. And I know that a summons like this for someone like me is unheard of. And I just want to say that thank you for everything, for your knowledge about what that was about. And he looks at you about how we might be able to deal with it, and your advice, this curse, whatever it is, might spread. I think you're right. I think all of you are right. And he looks back at Horatio. She tries to stop him, but I think it is for the best that I live on my own. At this point, Britta stands up. No, you won't. And she grabs his hand. She says, I'll stay with him. I'll live with him. We'll live with him. She grabs you and pulls you up. What do you do? The 3 of you are now standing up with the Horatia is also standing now because she was hugging you, but she's let you stand up one by one. The 3 of you are standing up, although other leaders all still remain seated. Do you want to add into this?
I'm gonna add into this. I think it's for the best that we remain stationary for a bit. Viden kind of struggles with flying, so I don't think we can keep up with the rest of the herd. But I also think that we should go look for something to make it better. Thing is not improving, and I don't want anyone to suffer like this ever again.
Give me a manipulation roll, but it's not manipulating. It's more like a pleading roll.
That's good at that.
That's okay. I'm going to give you a buff here because of the circumstances. While everyone is quiet, listening to this and thinking, unexpectedly, out of every leader there, Alric is the first to speak. And his voice is different now. He's actually kind. He says, that's very noble of you, young lady, to put your neck out to save a friend. He looks at Viden and he says, I may have underestimated the three of you. You're not children. Fine. My foam crests and I, we go up and down the coastline, as you know, and there's a port. The Thrope have a fishing town called Hicksport. They have an apothecary, someone who they claim is really, really good with their medicines and herbs. So I will take you with me if you'd have me. He looks at Horatia and says, of course, with your leader's blessing. And Horatia is a bit stunned. Well, thank you, Alric.
I will go. I was about to answer that before he just, with your leader's blessing, and then I just got reminded that, yeah, maybe she has to give her permission first.
Bretta looks at you and says, I know, and this might sound a little crazy, but I know where we can stay. And she looks at you and she says, you know when we searched the forest for the Plaguewraith before? Like, you know when we searched for the Plaguewraith before and everything was in the clear? Not too far from there was a river that oversees that entire part of the forest. I think Viden and I could set up a little lodge there, and we could overlook the forest. And if we ever get that feeling again, gods, we would know. We would know if that thing came back. It could be a bit of an early warning, I guess, while I take care of him. And Spira will be waiting for you. No matter how long it takes, we'll be waiting. Ah! You can see tears forming in her eyes, and Viden is trying his best not to cry as well, as like the three of you give a hug.
Yeah, I am both just like this stubborn, like I am gonna do it, and both just almost crying.
So the three of you hug, and the leaders stand up as they realize the meeting has come to a conclusion. After a few ceremonial goodbyes and well-wishing and all of that jazz, Horatia puts her hands on both Britta and Viden's shoulders. She says, I'm proud of the three of you, you know. And Spira, when you get back from your adventure, I want to raise you to be the next leader of the Goldenstriders. You showed real leadership potential all those years ago in the forest with that Plaguewraith. And even today, I would be honored to take you as an apprentice when you return.
Thank you, leader. I'm gonna make sure to do you proud and to be worthy of that.
Okay, so you and Alric leave the Evermist Grove, and a few weeks, because it's a long distance, but you meet up with the rest Foamcrest herd, and they essentially lead you down the river that takes you all the way to Hicksport. Alric sees you off at the gate, and before you is the bustling town of a Thrope fishing industry. Essentially, there's loads of boats coming in and out. They're hauling lots of fish. You can see that business is good here, and you've got to find this master apothecary. Give me an investigation plus intelligence.
Plus intelligence.
Yes. Okay.
It's not a one.
It's not a one. It's not a one. It's more than one, and that's what matters, right?
I don't deal well with cities. I haven't been in one.
So you search town up and down, asking a few questions. This is the most you've ever had to like interact with the Thrope, and it's certainly the most Thrope you've ever spoken to in a single day. But you are determined. You are on a mission. You have a friend to save. You have two friends who are putting their lives at risk, living so close to where that thing was last seen. You are determined to make this happen, no matter how many doors you have to knock on or how many like conversations you have to like interrupt to ask. But unfortunately, your effort is not rewarded. You spent most of the day searching, but few people seem to understand exactly what you were trying to search for. And it seems that the Thrope maybe have a different word for an apothecary, but when you start asking about like medicines and stuff like that, you finally get a bit of a clue that the doctor of the town is actually boarding a boat and is about to leave today. Now, you know I said that there's an instinct roll in this game where once per campaign, I will use one instinct roll to save your life. What I'd like to do is that since it's very unlikely that there's going to be more combat unless you do something really silly, I would like to offer you a chance to rely on your gut instinct to pick which boat. Okay, give me a pure D20 instinct roll. Okay. As you're looking at, you see a very large vessel that has been, because you rolled pretty well there. Your instincts picked up on this information. You noticed that a large amount of supplies and food was being put onto that boat throughout the day while you were busy asking people questions. And there seemed to be like quite a bit of excitement surrounding it. it would seem that this is one of the most important vessels of the day, at least. So if the doctor of the town was leaving the town, then it would make sense that it would be on this like vessel of significance, right? It wouldn't make sense that he'd be leaving town on like a road.
Yeah.
Because there are people here who depend on him. So why would he be leaving? Unless there was something like more important or someone. So then what do? The boat is leaving. Like it's literally pulling out of the docks as we speak. It's heading out into the ocean. But do you have wings?
Yeah, I have wings. I'm just gonna fly.
So with your backpack that you got from Horatia and the arrow the bows and the arrows that she gave you, you ride off chasing this boat and are able to catch up to it and land before you started to run out of breath. I was about to make you do a stamina roll, but your instinct roll was really good there. So you land on the boat and immediately everyone looks at you with a "what the heck are you doing" kind of expression here.
Hi. I needed to see the medicine man. I'm their apprentice.
Okay. I'm liking this. Okay, give me a manipulation roll. Come on, let's do it. Let's lie our way into here. Let's get that deception going.
I am so good at that. I can roll well though.
Most of the trope on board are the dog variety, so they mostly have dog ears and such. Both men and women, they're working the boats. Some are cleaning, some are checking that all the barrels are tied down, others are pulling rope. And the one who is like right in front of you, because everybody noticed you landing, but it looks like this guy might be either the second in command or the Elisher. Why didn't he mention you coming sooner? Is that why you got so much of your luggage? Were you late?
Yeah, I needed to say goodbye to my family, so I got a bit late. Sorry.
No worries at all. Let me take you down to him now. He leads you down into the boat, and you see it's a very large vessel. And he says, okay, so as you know, we have a very important person on board, and Dr. Wolfenstein is his caretaker. As Mr. Wolfenstein's assistant, I'm sure you're fully aware that you are not to disturb the VI.
Of course.
You go down into the boat itself, and he leads you through the various rooms. Eventually, you see that there is a small door that he knocks on, and you hear a small male old voice just being like, yes, what's going on? And the captain opens the door, and he just gestures to let you in.
I'm just gonna sneak in and just be like, hi.
And he politely closes the door as you enter in, and he walks back upstairs. Dr. Wolfenstein looks at you and is, can I help you? What ails a Pegasus? I'll admit I've not treated many of your kind, but I can give it a shot. What lady?
I'm sorry for just bursting in like that. It's not me actually. It's my friend. He got in contact with the Plaguewraith a few years ago, and he's kind of takes
a Plaguewraith, a Plaguewraith, a plague. He rushes across his room, and like he doesn't even like care about what is going on anymore, and he starts opening up his books, medical books and everything, and he's flicking through it. He finally, and on it is a horrendous drawing, and he's like, one of these.
Yeah.
In scary detail.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go completely pale and nod. Like, yeah, that.
I'm sorry to tell you this, young lady, but I don't know if there is a cure. However, don't look dejected. Don't look dejected. I can see it in your eyes. And I might be a doctor of the body, but it's also important to know that the soul is just as important. Tell me, your friend, why was a Plaguewraith able to touch his soul?
He kind of used his wind to keep the Plaguewraith off us, like his scale touch, and he...
Your Pegasus can conjure wind, right? Of course. So what you're saying is that in his panic, he used all of the spirits that naturally protect his soul, and that's when the Plaguewraith attacked? Oh, my dear, that's bad. That's really bad. Him rubbing his temples as he's trying to think. I know I said the soul is important, and please, lass, keep your soul together when you hear this. But this is a curse. It's a disease. It's a curse. It's both. It's part curse, part disease. Now, we can treat symptoms, but if the curse is not removed, the curse is not healed, then the symptoms will always come back. Okay, he looks through and you can tell that his heart is like bleeding for you and your friend that he's never met. And you can see that this guy became a doctor because he genuinely wants to like help people. And he's like, I wish there were magic healing in this world. Despite all the world, all the magic, all the spirits, all of the species and their primal abilities and all of that, there are very few convenient ways of curing a curse. And for such a nasty, nasty creature, that's it. That's it. He looks at you because he was looking at you as he was saying this. And he gestures his hand raising up and down. He's like, you're the solution.
Right.
Well, I mean, not you. I mean, a centaur, not a pegasus, a unicorn. A unicorn's horn has powerful healing magic. It's the reason they're going extinct. Everyone is hunting them down and they've gone into hiding. You need to find a unicorn. You need to find one of your lost kin. They're in hiding. But just so you know, we're actually heading to Tarnithia. I mean, we have to make a stop off at the Celestial Den first, but we're heading to Tarnithia. I've heard, and I can't guarantee this, my love, but I've heard that some unicorns have been sighted there. I mean, it's a continent that's very far away from everyone else. And it's the perfect place to hide a unicorn. I don't know how you got on this boat, but I can tell when somebody's trying to save a life. And you're trying to save your friend's life. So if you need to stay, I can teach you what I can while this boat is sailing. Obviously, my client is my priority, but I am looking for an assistant after all.
Thank you so much. I would very much like to be able to learn from you. I don't want to see people suffer. If you can teach me how to help people, that would be amazing.
I see a lot of myself in you. I think we'll get along just fine. And that's where we're going to call it!
The next episode should be right here. Thanks for watching.